Card King, here I come. Hello, music fans, music collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I'm your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in on this special Sunday edition of the Card King Sports and Variety Show. And we supposedly have a guest on. I believe he's on the line now. Is that you, buddy? And we probably lost connection here. So Buddy Whttington was scheduled to come on. He'll probably call back. Buddy Whttington is considered one of the top 29 blues guitarists in the world by Guitar World, voted by the public. He also has a long history playing with John Mayall and the legendary Blues Breakers, a band which really started in the 60s. And John Mayall, for those of you who remember and who know, Mayall is considered a pioneer of the British white blues movement. And, many of the legendary guitar players came out of that group in the 60s, from the likes of Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce, both later of, as you all know, Cream, along with Peter Green, played with the John Mayall band, and Peter Green, also Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood, and John McVie, the three of whom. Hey, buddy, how are you? Great to have you on.
Well, great to be on. Doing pretty good this morning. Just propping my eyes open with toothpicks after playing last night.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. It's an honor. So, buddy, the news has been told the release of your newest album, Texas Scratch, is finally in circulation, getting its due after 13 years. Let us know what we can expect to hear from that latest work of yours, and why so long for its birth.
Well, it's me and Jim Suhler and Vince Converse were the guitar players. We got together in Dover, New Jersey 14 years ago to record this thing, and everybody brought a couple of originals, and I had two originals and a cover and brought mine in, and we did the basic tracks in like 4 days and got it going, and then it promptly was shelved for all that time, and we had just about given up on it, and then Quarto Valley Records got a hold of it and has got it out, and we're having a great time with it.
Yeah, and for the listening public listening to the show right now, where can they go ahead and purchase this work of yours?
Amazon.com is the only common place I can think of. There's not a website for it. Now, there is a Facebook page called Texas Scratch, and I'm pretty sure the record company is monitoring that. Or you can contact Quarto Valley Records. You can download it or get a CD.
And, buddy, perhaps, many that are tuning in right now, they don't know what it is, but Texas Scratch is a style of guitar picking, right?
That I don't know where that whole Carter Scratch thing got started. It came out with the promo info with the record. But that is, I suppose that's true, but it didn't have anything to do with what we did. We love the old country music and the Carter family and all that. We have great reverence for them, but that didn't have anything to do with ours. It was just called, I had a song called "I Got the Itch, but I Ain't Got the Scratch," and my friend in New York, Arnie Goodman, he says, "Let's call it Texas Scratch." And I said, "Why is that?" And he goes, "Scratch is money, right?" And I said, "Well, it could be construed that way. It could be a scratch-off ticket or whatever." Anyway, that's how the record wound up named that.
Yeah, and before you came on, buddy, I was mentioning a little bit about your history. You obviously played with the legendary John Mayall, who's considered one of the pioneers of the British white blues movement. How did you and John get together? How did John get you?
I was in a band called the Sidemen for 10 years, back in probably late 80s, early 90s, and we opened for John Mayall and the Blues Breakers with when Coco Montoya was the guitar player. And John took me aside and said, "Look, Coco's about to leave and do his own, career, and I'll be looking for a guitar player, and I don't have a record deal now, but would you be interested in coming out to California and doing some recording with us?" And I said, "You mean we haven't left yet?" So as it worked out, I met him that night and stayed with him for 15 years after that.
Yeah, that is amazing, and you're amongst those elite performers who tenured in the Blues Breakers, along with others such as Clapton and Jack Bruce and Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, etc. But what separates you from the few I just mentioned is that Mayall considered you probably the greatest in the band.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think the real reason he got me was because I was a good driver. and he could stretch out in the back seat with his airline mask on, while we were driving all over the U.S. with me driving. But I appreciate that.
No, and it's actually on record saying that you were probably the best Blue Breakers of them all.
Like I say, just happy to have been there.
So going through your discography, and each of these works of yours, have its own bit of history and footnotes. It looks like 1980 Texas Boogie Blues, Ray Sharp. Was that your first track?
Well, that was I had a friend that was engineering that Ray Sharp album, and Ray he's an old Fort Worth treasure. He's been around here forever and played with everybody. And I sort of went in the back door on that deal and put some guitar tracks on it from that my friend, the engineer, got me involved with, And I called Ray later and said, I hope you don't mind, I played on your record. And as it worked out, it went pretty good, and we had got a lot of airplay over in North and South Carolina where they do the beach music, the shag thing, and there was a song called Sitting on a Boat Dock that got a lot of airplay there. And I was real fortunate to be involved in that.
Yes, so that was 1980, and then 1995, Spinning Coin with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. That was the first album you recorded with the band.
That's correct. That was the first one I ever. I had met John. Like I said, I met him a couple of years before that. But when the time came to go out there, that's what we did. We started working. We were at the Clubhouse Studio in Burbank, California, and we started working on what was to become Spinning Coin.
Yeah, and then 1997, Blues for the Lost Days. This is where I feel your guitar work really stood out on this album, especially on It Ain't Safe. I mean, your performance on that track is superb.
Thank you, sir. I enjoyed doing it. Enjoyed having I believe that might have been an Albert Collins cover. I'm not sure who did it, but I know it was a cover, and we got in there and kind of changed it around and rearranged it, and that's what we came up with. But thank you for listening to that.
Yeah, It Ain't Safe is excellent. And then 1999, Padlock on the Blues. Now, this was interesting with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers because I believe this was when Coco came back, right? I think he had some recordings on that album.
On Padlock, I really don't know, but I don't think so.
I read something like that. I see his name on some of the credits. I don't know if he came back. Now, when you replaced Coco, was it a difficult transition, or you just fell into the groove and you performed it your own style?
Well, what they were doing at the time when John sent me a video of them playing on Austin City Limits. With the Coco version of the band, and David Grissom was sitting in, and it was Wake Up Call was the album that was out at the time, and I had to learn the material for Wake Up Call, which I pretty much knew already, and learn how to play it the way they play it live, and then that just came out, and next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Europe. You know what I mean? And we played that album for at least a couple of years before I got started. Doing. I think it was 95, I believe, is when we started on Spinning Coin. When we started on Blues for Lost Days. I'm sorry, Padlock on the Blues. I'll get with you here in a minute.
Padlock on the Blues, right. And then around 2007, you recorded with John Mayall in the Palace of the Kink, but you also recorded your own piece of work titled Buddy Whttington, right?
Yeah, that was a bunch of original tunes that I'd had, and John actually helped me get that going. You know what I mean? And I've done that one, and then after that, 2011, I think I did one called Six String Svengali, which was another collection of originals. I think I had one cover on that album, and just trying to get a sort of a solo career going, which I'm still trying to do. But I haven't done any recording on any solo stuff recently because I don't know. The whole COVID thing came along and just knocked everybody out of the boat. You know what I mean? It's like almost like having to start over.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking with the legendary Buddy Whttington, who's considered one of the top 29 blues guitarists in the world by Guitar World. So that's a huge accolade there. I can't pay too much attention to that stuff, or I'll start listening to it and start believing it. So I'm just trying to keep being good old Bud. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I saw it yesterday. Guitar World, and this is by the public, by the readers of Guitar World. They nominated you. I think they ranked you 29 best blues guitarist in the world.
Well, at the time when all that stuff was going on, I was out playing with Mayall. We were doing over 100, 150 dates a year, and all over the world. And I was getting a lot of playing to a lot of people back then, and not quite so many these days, but. I did cultivate a fan base back then. You know what I mean?
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, Buddy, how's the Texas blues scene? Is the music still generating a devoted listening audience?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, in my own world, I go out and play my tunes and play. We play a lot of Freddie King stuff because Freddie was from Dallas, and a lot of those early ZZ stuff, which was really, super blues based, and our original tunes, and there's an audience for it, But I find myself, I have a friend visiting from Spain, Santiago Campillo, who's also a great blues artist, and we had a gig last night, and we played everything from the Beatles to the Monkees to the whatever, and then we turn around and do some hard blues. So, there's the audience there. But sometimes when you have a room full of people all coming from different facets of life, you got to play you got to play what they want to hear. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and speaking about Texas Scratch, the group now, it's born of three guitarists, right? It's yourself. Was it Converse? Is the other one?
Vince Converse from Houston, and Vince lives in Denver now, and we haven't hooked up with Vince again since we recorded, but we're planning to because we're going to get out and do some gigs. We're going to get Jeff Simon, the drummer, Jim Suhler and Jeff Simon both play with George Thorogood, and when they're not working with George, we're planning on getting out and doing some gigs, and scooping up Vince in Denver and doing some gigs across the country, hopefully.
Man, that's some heavy blues rock power because Converse, from what I understand, played with like Johnny Winter, Fats Domino. I mean, that's some legendary, collaboration there.
Yeah, I became aware of him, and when I was playing with Mayall, he had a band called Sunset Heights that was on a label that Arnie Goodman in New York had called Blue Storm Music, and that's where I became aware of Vince, but I never actually met him until we started the Texas Scratch tracks.
Right, and the Texas Scratch album is out now, and I believe we have like a couple of minutes. So we have a little tune I want to play for the public. Do we have that, Sean? Yeah, let's take a listen to it. Texas Scratch, the newest album.
The scratch. but I ain't got the scratch.
And there you hear it, a little sample of Texas Scratch, and with us is Buddy Whttington, guitarist, who's on that album. So catchy flavor, blues rock flavor there, Buddy. Nice work there.
Thank you, sir. Sure appreciate it. You know, we all the Texas guys, we had the same influences pretty much growing up, and it can only come out in our original material, and that's kind of why that sounds that way, I think.
Yeah, I could definitely hear the passion of the guitars. You know, there's licks everywhere you turn. Is soaked in the blues and kicked in the butt by blues rock. So it sounds great. So what's currently going on besides this new album release? What are you currently doing now?
Well, like I say, we're doing a few Texas Scratch dates. We've got a couple of them booked with just Jim and myself. Like I say, we don't have Vince on board yet, but we plan on doing that soon. And we're just planning on getting out and making people more aware of it and trying to keep doing some press on it. And we're all, like I say, we're all career musicians, so we've all got to work somewhere to keep the lights on. And that's what I do around here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In the meantime, waiting to get the tour together,
And before I let you go, just a couple of more I have for you. So the biggest moment in your musical life that changed your life, was it playing with John Mayall?
There's a couple of things that we did. Of course, yes, it was playing. John was the impetus and the catalyst for the whole thing that of anything good that's ever musically that's ever come along for me. Yes, but when we played with. When John turned 70 years old, we played in Liverpool, England at the King's Dock Arena with Mick Taylor and Eric Clapton guesting with our band, and getting to play with those guys and hang out with those guys was a real good lick for me. And also, being a Texas boy, we opened a lot of the ZZ Top shows across the United States, which was just I kept having to pinch myself saying, am I really doing this?
I mean, that's amazing. So you shared the stage with Clapton. How was that like?
He was a real down-to-earth guy and just as nice as he could be, and gave everybody. We were playing a slow blues, and John turns around and passes the baton to Eric, and he looked at me and said, "You want one?" And what am I going to say? No, And I still feel like I kind of overplayed on it, but I figured it was the only chance I'd ever get to do that, But, yeah, he made everybody real comfortable, and it was a really great night.
And since you're such an expert in the instrument, which would you say, which players should some other guitar artists study and learn their licks from?
I tell you that one of the young guys now that's coming up is Christone Ingram, a.k.a. Kingfish. Y'all check him out. He's a young guy from Mississippi, and he can really do it. And he's gonna maybe be the future of the whole thing. You know what I mean? And also, I like Kirk Fletcher. I like Greg Koch. There are so many great guitar players out there.
And some of your early influences. Can you name some of your early influences?
Well, I started out, I was a lot of country music around our house. And I listened to, a lot of like Don Rich that was with Buck Owens, and Roy Nichols that was with Merle Haggard. And then when I was about 15, maybe 16, in 1972, I saw ZZ Top for the first time. And Billy Gibbons was a big influence and continues to be. We know each other a little bit. I don't get to see him as much as I used to, but he was a big influence growing up, and John, there's a guy that one of the songs on the album, Louisiana Cockfight, was by a guy named John Nitzinger here in Fort Worth that had that out on an album in 1972. And we all the guys involved in the record knew about him and revered him and learned from, we used to play those tunes in our shows and stuff like that. And John's not playing anymore. He's still with us. He's not really well, but we just figured we'd cover that song on there just kind of a tip of the hat to him.
Well, I really hope he recovers soon. Now, do you remember the very first guitar you had? Were you a Gibson fan, a Fender fan?
You know, the first one I ever had was called a Catalina. It was from an auto parts store in Hurst, Texas for like $15. But the first decent guitar I ever had was a gold top Les Paul Deluxe for like a 1969 or 70. And my dad went with me. And I think I bought it for $250. My dad fronted me the money for it, and I wound up paying him back on it. But that was the first good one I ever had.
First good one. And from what I understand, was it your sister that had a big record collection?
Oh, she had 45 stacks of 45s and stacks of albums, and she had just about anything you could imagine, you know. And I mean, she had 10 years on me. And when I walked in her room one day, and I saw these posters of these long-haired English guys smoking cigarettes in these pictures and having drinks in their hands and stuff, and this like Beatles, Meet the Beatles was on her little turntable. That was a big eye opener. But you know, before that, she had the Temptations and the Four Tops, and she had Jimmy Reed, she had Slim Harpo, she had a couple of John Mayall records that far back. You know.
Oh, really?
So yes, she was always a real mentor to me.
Man, did you have any, you know, insight or feeling that one day you would be playing, you know, professionally, especially with John Mayall?
Well, I knew I would be playing professionally because I never really knew how to do anything else. I had a short electronics career that I messed around with, but I was always playing even when I was doing that. And I knew that I would ultimately play music for a living, but you know, I and hopefully that I would play at some level other than just the bush leagues. But I really didn't expect to have anything like the thing that happened with John Mayall becoming my friend and my boss. You know, so that was really something.
Man, that's amazing, buddy. Listen, I really appreciate a few minutes of your time.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. So the new album, Texas Scratch, everyone can Google it, pick up a copy now. It's a great piece of work by Buddy Whttington and Texas Scratch. So thanks for being on. Until next week, happy collecting to all.